So this should be an interesting test for the microphone. So I'm using an internal microphone on the helmet now. So we'll see how it goes. And this is the microphone that I'm going to be using for the trip to France next Thursday. So there we go. There's the beast. I'm not sure about these keyless rides, because if the battery goes down on the key, it goes. Luckily, I've got spare batteries on the bike, so it's not so bad. But I'm still not sure about this keyless ignition system. But we'll see how it goes. Anyway, this is going to be a quick trip. One thing I do like about the K1600, one thing I do like about the K1600, or I did like, is the reverse. It's brilliant. Very handy for getting out of tight spaces. There we go. And off we go. Dear. I've just finished work for the day. Started very early this morning. Started at 7 o'clock. And I just finished. It's just after 4 p.m. here in Bristol. The weather's not looking great, by the way, for the weekend, which is unfortunate, because I was kind of hoping to head over to Wales tomorrow to CMC to pick up some bits and pieces for next week. I hate riding in the rain, and yes, I am a fair weather rider. Call me old fashioned, but I still don't like getting wet. I'm 56 years old, and normally when I drive a car, I tend not to use the bike that much anymore, actually. Not because I don't want to, simply because I just don't have time. I do use it at the weekends, but the weather's been so crap here for the last few months that it's been virtually impossible to do it. So it's a bit unfortunate. But anyway, there you go. I'm going to drop the screen here a little bit. So the camera that I'm using, by the way, is the Ghost XL. It's a really good camera. However, one thing I don't like about it is that the internal microphone that it comes with it is just crap. Now, lots of people say, oh, that's because of wind noise and everything else, but everyone knows that you're going to be sticking a Ghost XL 9 times out of 10 on a helmet. So you would have thought that it would come with some sort of an extended microphone, you know, even if it was just... There is a connector for a microphone on there, don't get me wrong, but it's an optional extra. And I think that's really cheeky. So I had to go out and buy another, an aftermarket microphone with a 3.5mm jack plug to plug that in. But after spending like 140 quid on a camera, you would have thought that they'd at least give you a microphone when they know that 9 times out of 10 people are going to be using them on microphones. So just bear that in mind. Ghost XL, by the way, they're a good camera. Not the best camera by any means, but for my purposes, they're really good. So, as I said, we'll see. I'm just wondering if that's going to change the audio now, because I just I put my visor down. Let's give it a rock here. So we're into our 40 mile an hour zone here. There we go. I'm not a speed demon, by the way, in case anybody thinks that everybody driving a 1600 is going to be driving at 200 miles an hour. far from it. I bought this bike because I wanted something that could do long distances very comfortably. And what I tend to do is once I get onto the motorway, I tend to just stick the cruise control on at 70 and let the bike do the work. But obviously me keeping an eye on what's going on. But there you go. It's Friday today, by the way, so traffic is going to be pretty heavy coming out of Bristol. We're presently on the Pill Road heading in towards Bristol now, towards Ashton Gate, and this is down to a 30. There we go, on to 30. So the bike that I'm riding at the moment is a K1600 GT SE. It's a very, very nice bike. I've had it over a year now. When I bought it there was just under 4,000 miles on it, and now there's just over 8,000 miles on it, so I haven't done too bad, I suppose. I did buy it with the intention of doing a lot more mileage, but of course, like everything else, life gets in the way, and things tend to slow down a bit, but such is life, isn't it? I suspect anybody watching this has probably got the same thing. So what do I like about this bike? Well, the engine is just sublime. It's smooth, it's efficient. If you don't drive the ass out of it, you're going to get at least 55 miles to the gallon. And for a 1600 engine on a motorbike, that's pretty good. It's a heavy bike, so don't drop it, because especially if you're on your own, because picking them back up again is a bastard to do. It's only happened to me once. Luckily I was on grass, so there was no damage done. But they're an absolute bastard to pick it back up again, especially when they're full of fuel, because the fuel tank here is quite high up, even though it's actually quite low down on the inside. It looks high up. The bike itself though, it's beautifully engineered. I know that the initial bunches of or the initial batches of K1600s had issues with the paint bubbling and bits like that, but later ones like this one, this is a 2021 bike, sorry, 2020 bike, no issues there to report at all. And if you keep them clean, what I tend to do is after a long ride is just get the garden hose out and give it a good spray down with fresh water, especially if it's been raining, because you get a lot of salt and crud coming up off the road. Keep it clean. And the other thing that's a must-have for these bikes is a radiator guard. The amount of horror stories that you hear about from people saying that you know, the amount of crud that comes up off the road and damages the radiator is unreal. But again, quick squirt of the hose gets rid of any kind of gunk that gets jammed up in the fins of the radiator, and you're okay. And you don't have to do that every time, obviously, but I tend to do it whenever I'm washing the bike, just as an extra step. There we go. Traffic is going to start to build up from here on in now, but it's still, as you can see, traffic on the other way is quite heavy already. Where we're going, by the way, I'm going for a quick coffee down to Costa, because today was a particularly crap day. It was really busy and lots of people having a moan about things, and that actually gets to you after a while. And at the moment I'm looking after a particularly big project, and of course people start moaning about things and they start worrying about scope, and as a project manager, of course, you have to take that on the chin. But yeah, thankfully it's not like that all the time. By the way, I love my job, in case my employer's watching. I do, genuinely. I've got a great employer. They look after me. I can work remotely when I want, which is cool. And when I don't, I sometimes take the bike to work, because I can zip in and out of traffic. I can use the bus lanes here in Bristol, which is good. Generally speaking, you can use most bus lanes here in Bristol with motorbikes and mopeds. It's not the same for every city in the UK, by the way, so don't take that as gospel. So I'm talking about specifically in Bristol. I know some parts of London, they've restricted motorbike use in the bus lanes. Not all, but in some. The other thing about Bristol and the Bristol surrounding area, for any bikers that may be watching this as well, is that Avon and Somerset Police have a zero tolerance for speeding. And I found that out to my detriment a couple of years ago. I was doing 23 miles an hour in a 20, and I got a £100 fine and 3 points. Thankfully I was able to opt for the speed awareness course, but there is this absolute zero tolerance for it in Bristol. So if you are riding through Bristol or the surrounding areas that's covered by Avon and Somerset, just bear that in mind, because they don't take any prisoners when it comes to speeding. And that really fucking pisses me off now. You get a guy pressing the wait light, then crosses the fucking road anyway. What an absolute fucking bell end. Anyway, fuck's sake. Does my bloody head in. You're going to see how traffic is going to build up here in a second, and you're going to see why it's very nice to have a motorbike in Bristol. So where we're coming to now is the Ashton Underpass, and the Ashton Underpass on a Friday, in fact at this time during the week, any week, is always busy. It's a pain in the arse, but you'll see why I love riding motorbikes in the city. We can do this. Yay. I'm sure it pisses a couple of car drivers off, but in the immortal words of Monty Python, fuck 'em. Yes. I was doing this a couple of weeks ago, and a guy actually pulled in front of me to stop me from doing it. And I had it on dash cam and sent it to the police, and they said they'd take action against the guy, because what I'm doing is perfectly legal, by the way. Filtering. And anything that can reduce the stress levels can only be a good thing, can't it? Now imagine if I was in the car there, I'd still be back there for the next 20 minutes trying to get through. Traffic, generally speaking, in Bristol is horrendous. It's especially in the city centre, because what they've done in the city centre is they've made a lot of it one way, and they've introduced extra bus lanes and stuff. The problem is that not a lot of yes, the bus lanes are used, but they're 9 times out of 10 you never see a bus on them. So you got two kind of bus lanes, big wide bus lanes, and then for the traffic going through the city you've got one lane. And in the city centre you get 3 lanes of traffic trying to combine into 1 lane of traffic, and that causes severe issues and there we go, and causes severe congestion issues. So the planners at Bristol City Council need to be brought round the back of the sheds and given a good slap, because they obviously have no idea how to do any kind of city planning. If they did, they might actually be worth the money the council are paying them, but it's quite obvious that they're not. So this is the retail park we went into. That's Bristol City Grounds there, by the way. Also the home of the Bristol Bears, or where the Bristol Bears play, that is, not the home. The Bristol Bears rugby team play there as well. And we're going over to Costa over there, which is quite cool. And I'm looking forward to this coffee. Yes, I can drink coffee at home before anybody drops a comment in there, but I like the lattes, and I just can't be arsed making a latte at home. And I don't have a coffee machine at home. Maybe I should buy one. Yes, I should. It would save me a fortune on Costa, but I don't really care. It's Friday. That's a treat to myself. I only do it once a week, so there you go. Anyway, thanks for joining, folks. Join me again in a few minutes when I'm on the way home again. Oh dear, let's go. Right, here we are again. About to head home. From the Ashton Gate Retail Park here in Bristol. So let's go home. Traffic is going to be an absolute bitch going home. I can see it now. But anyway, let's see what happens. So continuing on with the trip that's coming up. So on Thursday next week I'm heading to France and then down to Spain. So I'm doing a big ride on the first day. So I'm going from Poole to Cherbourg, and then Poole to Cherbourg on the ferry, and then Cherbourg down to a place called Langon in the south of France. So I've got one night in Langon, and then it's a big ride then the following day as well, because we'll be heading down to just south of Alicante to a place called Torrevieja. And the only reason I'm going to Torrevieja actually is because I have some relatives that live there, and the beer is cheap. So that should be good fun. The weather here is turning for the worse again. Surprise, surprise. It's just been really crap, the weather, since kind of January. Now, yes, I know January, February, March is kind of winter coming into springtime, so you can kind of expect that. But in January, it rained every single day in January, which was a pain in the arse for me, because, as I said, I don't really like riding in the rain. I suspect most bikers don't. And I've been riding bikes since I was about 14 years of age, in one way, shape or form. And as I said previously, I'm 56 now, and I've always had some sort of a bike. Now, that's not entirely true. From about the age of 18 to 23, I didn't have one, because I was travelling quite a bit and kind of working different jobs, and I didn't need to have a bike because I was working overseas, and I never really saw the need to have one. I wanted one, and I did ride bikes overseas, but they were mostly rentals and mostly scooters. I mean, I didn't pass my driving test until I was 30 years of age, and that was simply because I didn't need to drive a car. But it became more of a necessity to drive a car because of some jobs that I was offered, and they were offering things like car allowances and rather than company cars, so it was a cheap way for me to get a car at the time. So I was just leasing cars then. But the going back to the 1600 that I'm on here at the moment, I'm in 6th here at the moment. You can see I'm doing 26 miles an hour, and it's still pulling like a train. If I drop the throttle here, look. There you go. It's an amazing bike. It doesn't matter what gear it's in, it just pulls like a train. It really does. We're going up a pretty steep hill here now in a second, and you'll see I won't have to change gear until I get to the traffic lights. It's a 30 mile an hour zone all the way up here, as you can see. There you go. But yeah, fun and games. I'm hoping the audio will come out alright on this actually, because I did a quick test earlier today and it sounded okay indoors, but I just want, I mean, this video is more for me to test the audio itself. But the reason I'm testing it now is because on that trip next week I will be recording part of that trip from a place called Pau in the south of France down to a place called the Col de Porlet, which is up in the Pyrenees. And I've driven that road before in a car many years ago, and it was absolutely epic. It really was. It was one of those roads where you look back on and you think, I wish I could have done that on a bike, and I didn't. Why didn't I do it? But now I've got the chance to do that. As you can see, traffic is quite heavy here at the moment. I'm down to 22 miles an hour. And back up again. and the lights are probably going to go red any second now. Oh no, maybe not. I made it. Those lights are a bitch, by the way. You can see traffic is very heavy. It always is, though, coming out of Bristol on a Friday. I'm convinced that half the city empties on a Friday, because Bristol is a bit of an IT hub, and what tends to happen is you get a lot of contractors working in Bristol, so they live and work here for kind of 3-4 days a week, you know, kind of Tuesday through to Friday, and then on Friday there's a mass exodus out of the city. And I really noticed it over the last few years, because I used to be an absolute bastard for going out on a Friday for a few beers with my mates in Bristol city centre, and I did that again quite recently with a friend of mine that was over from Ireland, and the place was dead. And I suspect it's down to a couple of things. One is that a lot of the younger kids have no real interest in drinking anymore, but also it's gone so bloody expensive to go for a pint. People just can't afford it. And I was speaking to a guy that runs a pub in Bristol, and he was saying that the only pubs that are really making money now are pubs that do food, because he said the wait only trade is just been decimated over the last few years, and that kind of plays out as well with even the government's own statistics, because they're saying something like 20 pubs a day are closing down, never to return. I think that's quite sad. And even in my own village, which is called Pill, I mean, one of the pubs there seems to have changed hands maybe 4 or 5 times over the last 10 years. But the only pub that's doing anyway well at all, there's 2 pubs that are doing well. Both of them do really, really good food. And I've always said I don't mind paying extra for food, you know, paying more for food if the food quality is good. And in fairness to both of those pubs, the food is superb. In fact, it was my wife's birthday a couple of days ago, so we headed out and had some food, and it was fantastic. The only other addition, by the way, that I've put on this bike is that little wind deflector that you see on the windscreen in front of me. That's made a hell of a difference to me, because I'm quite tall. I'm 6'1", and that wind deflector has made a huge difference, because the standard screen that comes with the BMW, for me anyway, was about as useful as tits on a fish, because the moment I went at any kind of higher speed, above kind of 60 on a motorway, I was getting severe buffeting on the top of my crash helmet, to the point where it became really uncomfortable, and I used to have to stop every kind of 45 minutes to an hour just to get off the bike, because my head was rattling around all over the place. I put that thing on, and it was cheap as chips, by the way. I think it was like 12 quid delivered on Amazon, and it's made a huge difference, and it's made it a far more comfortable ride. And I tried it out a few weeks ago, where I did a particularly long ride where I drove from Bristol over to Aberystwyth in West Wales, and it was brilliant. It made a huge difference, and I was really pleased with it. The fitting instructions were easy, and fitting it itself was piss easy as well, so there was nothing particularly difficult about it at all. It was good. I've just hit 8,300 miles as well on my lovely K1600, so that's nice. I did have a K1600 before. It was a 2013 model, and when I bought it, I think there was about 10,000 miles on the clock, and when I sold it there was over 80,000 miles on the clock. So I did quite a bit of mileage on that bike, but the depreciation on them is absolutely horrendous, so just bear that in mind. I would not recommend anybody buying a brand new BMW K1600 GT. They are a beautiful bike, don't get me wrong, I love them, they're built like tanks, but the depreciation on them is horrendous. I think a fully spec'd 1600 GTSE is probably going to cost you the guts of about 26 grand if you go for all the optional toys that are on there. But you could drive 5,000 miles on that and you'd be selling it for less than 18,000 the following year. So just bear that in mind. So the bargains are the ones that are 6 months to 12 months old. I mean, when I bought this one, I have it over a year. When I bought this, I paid, I think it was 11,999, so 12 grand basically. But there was less than 4,000 miles on the clock, and it was a one-owner jobby. By the way, the GPS system that I'm using is one of those Chiggy CarPlay ones, and it's absolutely superb. I didn't bother going for the Wonder Wheel control box that you can get with it as well, because I don't need it. It'd be nice to zoom in every now and again, but look, it is what it is. But it works superbly. I did a trip to France in May of last year, and another one in July actually, and it never set a foot wrong. It was brilliant. It was absolutely superb for both trips. Never missed a beat. I tend to leave it on the bike all the time now. I never bother taking it off. The only time I take it off is if I'm travelling away somewhere for security purposes, that type of way. But even then, once the screen is down, it's actually quite difficult to look at this fucking bell end. Look, unbelievable. You can see the cars coming down, but they still insist on coming up the road. Absolute fucking dickheads. Not that I suffer from road rage much. There you go. Alright, turning back on the home straight now. This is such a nice bike to drive, by the way. If you ever get the opportunity to take a 1600 for a test drive, take one for a test drive. You won't regret it. Your bank balance might regret it, but you won't regret it. It's an absolutely superb bike. And here we are back at home. I'm back into the garage now in a second. And as I said, I am hoping that the audio should come out okay on this. That's the lads that do our garden for us. Great guys as well. Two of the hardest working guys you'll ever come across. They're absolutely brilliant. There we go. And we're home. One thing I would say is that having a garage is a must for a bike, and a decent security system as well. So I've got kind of data tags, I've got an aftermarket alarm system in here, I've got a tracker on here, I've got wheel locks, you name it, everything is on here. So it's all good fun. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and there will be some more happening over the next couple of weeks, because I'm really looking forward to sharing some of the experience that I have with that trip down to France, and especially that road that I was telling you about, which is the one from Pau up to down to Pôle de Corlay. If you look it up on the map, if you look up where Pau is, P-A-U, and then look up the Col de Porlet, which is right up in the Pyrenees. It's about 7,000 feet above sea level. So there you go. Let me just lock up. Done and dusted. Excellent. All right, chaps. So yeah, should be fun and games. Anyway, thanks for watching, folks. Hope you all enjoyed, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye now.